The Entrepreneurial Journey podcast. We're talking business and building a culture that's kick-ass. Where we make it happen, grab your seat, let's have a blast. At the Entrepreneurial Journey podcast.
Hi and welcome to the Entrepreneurial Journey. Today I have Claire Munday with me, who runs a really great company called Tappy, and I just love the name of it. And it's a children's activity franchise. Hi Claire, how are you?
Hello Rebecca. Yeah, I'm great. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
Yeah, no, that's a pleasure. Now, we've invited you on because you were a finalist with the Great British Entrepreneur Awards recently. Which categories were you nominated for, Claire?
Yes, I was a finalist in the Creative Entrepreneur for the East of England. And we had a fabulous black tie event last Monday, actually.
Right.
Yeah, it was fantastic to be part of.
Yeah, definitely. And you're up for an award or two tonight as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. I know they all come at once. It's like
yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
But yeah, tonight I will be driving up to Coventry later for the What's On for Kids Awards, which is quite a big award in our kind of sector. And I am up for Remarkable Achievement, which is lovely, and also Most Loved Dance and Performing Arts. And one of my franchisees is up for Best Franchise as well. So yeah, wish us luck. Yeah.
Yeah, good luck. I hope you do well at that. Definitely. All right. So tell us what Tappy Toes is.
Yeah, of course. So Tappy Toes is a dance and movement franchise for babies and toddlers. It started off just for kind of 2-year-olds and it's expanded out from there. Yeah, so I created Tappy Toes for 2-year-olds and then it just expanded and expanded from there. And we kept getting asked for classes for like a 1-year-old and then it was like, oh, but my baby, you know, she loves bopping about. Can she come and join in? And so I created a baby syllabus as well, which is all about kind of bonding with your baby, dancing with your baby, and it's more kind of sensory based. So we expanded out to that. And then most recently, we've expanded into schools, taking all the way up to kind of year 2 with our dance program in schools. So yeah, it's kind of grown and grown from what it initially was. It was just little old me almost 20 years ago, I think, when I first started it in Watford, where I lived at the time. Never kind of meant to be a franchise at that moment. It was purely, I created a lesson plan for that age group because I just love that age group and I love dance. And so, yeah, it's just kind of grown from there, really.
I love that. So, okay, you were a professional dancer for many years, weren't you?
Yes, yeah, that's right.
And you've done some pretty awesome stuff. Come on, it's your time to shine, Claire. Tell us what you've done.
Oh gosh, I mean, it's been many years now, but I did dance professionally for 10 years. I traveled the world. I started on cruise ships, and then I did a lot of kind of what they call commercial work, which will be things like we had Top of the Pops, the Brit Awards, MTV, stuff on MTV, that kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, it was a long time ago now. but yeah,
that's amazing.
It was great. Yeah, I had a lovely time. I really enjoyed it. But my first love was always teaching. I always loved to teach. Yeah, and so even when I was, I think, 14, I used to really look up to my dance teacher and think like, I want to be like her. Like she inspired me so much. And I had said to her, I want to be a dance teacher. And it was her that said to me, well, do you not want to perform first? Like, why don't you audition for a dance college? And so that's kind of how I got into that, really. It was her encouragement to say, look, go and audition for a college and see where you go, because you can teach afterwards. And so that's what I did. So, yeah, I'm back to my roots.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Yeah, because dancers, you know, it's punishing on your body, isn't it? You know, it's not an easy profession to keep going. And what was the catalyst for you to go, right, I'm going to set up on my own now and teach it professionally, to move away from actually dancing?
I was quite young when I first started, kind of when I created Tappy Toes. I think I was around 24, something like that. And at the same time, I launched a dance school, which I still run and own and run now, which is called Rise Studios. So I launched Rise Studios. I created Tappy Toes. And then it was a natural kind of, I suppose, a balance shift from dancing professionally to doing less of that and more teaching, to eventually just stopping the dancing. I think it's a tough world. You're constantly auditioning, you're constantly having to prove yourself. You go to 100 auditions, you might get one job. So it does take its toll. You've got to be very thick-skinned and, I suppose, self-assured to keep going. And yeah, I think at some point you just kind of go, okay, I've done that now. I did it for 10 years and, I was lucky enough to have a career that I was dancing a lot, which is great. And then it was just a natural progression over, really.
Yeah. So I interviewed a young woman yesterday who's 24, started her own business. In fact, I think she was a bit younger when she got started.
Yeah.
So going back to your younger self, what advice would you give your younger self now, do you think?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's such a great question. I think when I started, I just did everything myself, but I think it's a catch-22 because you kind of have to, because you haven't got the cash flow or the investment to hire people. But for example, when I started off, all the bookings were kind of manual, all the payments were cash. It was a different time. And when I kind of invested in a system, like a software system, a booking system, and decided to bite the bullet and pay the monthly fee to have that, it was game changing for my business. So it's little things like that where you think, actually, you feel like you can't afford to do whatever it is, whether it's hire a VA or, whatever it is. But you have to think, well, actually, I can't afford not to, because without those things in place, you can't actually grow. I think I wish I had invested earlier in help, and I still don't have a lot of help. I do a lot of the business myself, but I do have lots of systems and software in place now that just makes my job so much easier.
Yeah, it does. We should mention, if anybody can hear a little squeak in the background, you've got a puppy, haven't you?
Yeah. Oh my goodness, she's going mad. So we've only had her for 2 weeks, so she's very new, and I've kind of I've left her in the room, and she's not enjoying it. Bless her.
No, what sort of puppy is she?
She's a golden doodle. She's gorgeous.
Very nice.
So golden retriever and miniature poodle. Yeah, she's gorgeous.
Lovely. Yeah, very nice. Well, she'll calm down in a minute. That's fine. It won't hurt her to have some time away from mummy. It will do her good. Yes. All right. Okay. So you're absolutely right. I think now there are so many more options for business owners, aren't they? In that, way back I had to hire a bookkeeper, but now there's Xero, there's QuickBooks, there's all the online banks that make that side of things so much easier. And like you said, there are tech systems for bookings and payments, and diary booking systems and all kinds of things that just didn't exist. You still need people though, don't you? Because I think there's that mental load as much as anything else.
I think it is. It's tough being a business owner, because you are kind of, they say it's lonely at the top, and it's true, because you kind of don't have anyone to bat the ideas off against, or share the worries and all of that stuff. And kind of everybody, especially with the franchise network, everybody is looking to me for the answers. And I'm the first to admit I don't always have all the answers, but I'll do my best to find out. So it is important to have kind of people around you, and even if that's like other people in your industry that are doing a similar thing. I mean, I don't know what it's like in other industries, but in the children's activity industry, it's very warm and welcoming. It's very nurturing. Like, people are willing to share. So even other franchises that people could say are my competitors, we will share best practice. We will talk. We will help with tips and advice. And I think that's really important, surround yourself with people that are that understand what you're doing, because they're either on their own business journey or they're in the same sector.
Yeah, I interviewed the lady, I can't remember her name, but she is the MD of Puddle Ducks, the swim franchise. Yeah. Do you know her?
But I know the brands.
Yeah. So sharing best practice. Somebody who's going to buy a Puddle Ducks franchise isn't going to buy a Tappy Toes franchise, because it's completely different interests, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
But there are commonalities with working with young children and babies and families and things like that. Yeah, I can see that. That's nice that the industry
Yeah,
has that sharing ethos, definitely. So
yeah.
when did you start your first franchise, and what was the trigger for that?
Yeah, so I created the classes and I ran them myself in Watford for quite a while, for a good few years, with not really any thought of franchising, but then lots of people in kind of neighbouring towns were wanting to come to classes, and there was just such a massive demand for the classes that I started to look into like how I could broaden what I was doing and expand. And it was actually when I got pregnant with my first child that I was like, oh, franchise, heavily pregnant. Why wouldn't you? So yeah, I was pregnant with Ethan and I decided, right, actually, I'm going to start franchising. And I started kind of, I didn't spend very much on marketing, but I got everything put in place and ready. So the franchise agreement, the operations manual, all the stuff that you need to kind of take it to market, so to speak. And then I just did like a little advert on I think it was a dance teacher's directory or something like that, where he got sent out to all the members. And somebody found me from that. And I can remember like with this newborn baby in a car seat going for a meeting with somebody who was interested in franchising Tappy Toes. I mean, it seems crazy when I look back at that, but that's what happened. And so that first year, I think there was about 2 or 3 franchises, sort of pilot franchises. So if it is considering franchising or looking into franchising, it's always good to have a couple of pilot or tester franchises to just make sure that actually the business can work without you at the helm. So that's kind of what they were. They were the pilot franchises. One of them did it for 10 years and has recently kind of sold her business. The other one is still with me. So it showed that it, you know, it had legs.
Definitely.
And I then sort of focused on my family. I had my second child, so I wasn't actively recruiting or marketing. And we had like 5 franchises for a couple of years. And then both my kids started school. And 2020, the pandemic hit. And I think it was 2020 that I said, right, I'm ready to build this now. I don't know what spurred me on at that moment. My husband thought I was mad. He's like, it's a lockdown, it's a pandemic. Nobody's going to invest in a business right now. And I was like, I don't know. I disagree. I think reevaluating, I think it's the perfect time. And I put a little bit of money into marketing, and we sold 11 franchises during lockdown. It just took off. And since then we've grown at the same rate, really. So we're now at 31 franchises. We've got classes operating out of almost 100 locations in the UK. And we recently launched over in Dubai. So I think when I made that decision, and I guess this would be a tip or advice, like when I made that decision to focus on recruiting and building it, it happens. I think before sometimes you're so busy. I know it's like a famous phrase of working in your business instead of on your business, but it's true. Like you're working in the weeds, you're trying to put out fires all day long of all the stuff that needs to get done. But actually, when I shifted my focus and went, right, I'm ready to grow, I'm ready to recruit, that was all I was kind of thinking about. And it worked. So yeah.
It does. Yeah, it does. You get more of what you focus on without a shadow of a doubt. And you're right, that period of lockdown was really interesting because people had time to explore and really think about what they wanted out of life and work. And yeah, you know, those people who were working with a regular salary and were able to keep their jobs were storing up cash because they had nothing to spend it on. So.
Yeah, I think also there was quite a lot of redundancies as well. So people had cash to then invest in something and were like, well, actually, I don't want to work for a company and be made redundant at the drop of a hat. I could build my own business. And I think franchising is kind of underutilized in that sense, because a lot of people don't realize, you know, starting up a business is tough, and you know, a lot of them do fail, whereas starting up a franchise, most of them succeed. So it's kind of like, it's I think educating people on franchising and the benefits, because there's still a bit of stigma attached to franchising, I think.
Only in the UK, Claire.
Yeah.
Only in the UK, and I've still yet to understand why that is. I mean, our model, we nearly went down the franchise route, but because our coaches and consultants can really work anywhere, so they can deliver their coaching and consultant on Zoom all over the world. So we couldn't lock people into territories. It wouldn't have worked, and so a franchise just didn't make sense at all. But when I looked into it, some of the biggest businesses in the world are franchises. And some of the most successful business owners, multimillionaires, are franchise owners, franchisees. And people don't, in the UK, they don't understand that at all, do they?
I think they just see it as this huge corporation rather than a local business, but it could be further from the truth, because all of, for example, our franchises, they're local people, mostly mums, that are in their local area, in their communities, delivering these sessions. So it's very, very local, but it's under a bigger umbrella, which means we have more power online to, you know, make sure our website is coming up top when you're searching for baby or toddler dance classes. We've got more money as a whole to market and advertise. So and if you were just doing that by yourself, it's much harder to kind of fill your classes and raise awareness of your brand. So obviously I love franchising because that's what I do, but
no, one of my good friends, Susie McCafferty, runs a great franchise consultancy called Platinum Wave.
I know her. Yeah.
Oh, do you know Susie?
Yeah. It's a very incestuous industry. Yeah.
She just won Scottish Businesswoman of the Year Top 100, actually, and well deserved.
Amazing.
Which to me, I think, means that franchising is beginning to be recognised as, you know, in inverted commas, a proper business. And one of our licensed coaches, Melody, has a great domestic home care business. They specialise in looking after dementia patients at home, and she's franchising that as well. And it's a great way to grow a business. And get the brand out there and ensure that consistency and things like that. Thanks for listening, everybody. Did you know at TriCrest we've built a kick-ass culture coach and consultant program? So if you're a business coach or consultant and you're looking for something new, add to your toolbox, or even escape the 9-to-5, join us at our next event. Links in the information on the podcast. See you there. So on the little bio you sent me, Claire, it was clear that you're very ambitious. Where's this going?
I guess I probably am. We want to expand in the UAE. So currently we're in Dubai and we want to branch out from there. We do have the trademark for Australia and for Europe. So eventually, you know, we'd love to be a global brand that everybody kind of knows and loves. So I mean, watch this space. It takes time, but the focus at the moment is to build the UAE brands. We are actually known as Toddle Toes over there. We had I mean, that's the other thing with business and trademarking and all of that stuff. We couldn't get the trademark for Tappy Toes over there because there is a nursery that runs. So we had to think outside the box. We had to rebrand. We had to, you know, recreate a new website and all of that stuff. But we managed all of that. So there's always some hurdle, isn't there? But we managed.
There's always something. There is always something. Definitely. A top tip for people out there, because our podcast goes out to entrepreneurs, business coaches, consultants. The UAE is growing massively, isn't it?
It really is. And it's, I would say if you look to go into that area, like do your research before, because there's a lot of rules and regulations out there that don't apply here. And so it's been a real learning curve taking a business over there, because, you know, everyone thinks there's no taxes to pay over there and it's all, you know, great, but there aren't any taxes, but you do have to have a business license, which is thousands of pounds. So that is kind of your tax. So you have to really factor in all of those costs that are different to costs in the UK. And obviously the culture is different too. So you have to figure out where, you know, it depends what your business is, but how is your business going to work and be received out there? Because it's a very different culture. So we're still figuring that out as we go. But yeah, it's definitely been a huge learning curve.
Yeah, we a few of our learners have said, look, because our training is called the Kick-Ass Culture Coach and Consultant Training, and a few of our learners in the Middle East said we can't use that. And I've said, well, how about use no nonsense coach and consultant, or no nonsense culture coach? And they've said, right, okay, we can use that. So yeah, you have to be quite sensitive. Yeah,
it is very different.
It's very different. Are you going to expand into the US, do you think? Because they have a huge franchise culture.
Yeah, they do. And I mean, that would be wonderful. The problem with the US is there's so many rules and regulations regarding franchising over there. So every state kind of has a different law about franchising. So in order to launch over there, you would need a lot of money. So I think that would be kind of, you know, the end goal, I suppose, like once we are launched in other countries and we know that it works, before investing kind of a big amount into taking it over to the States. But I think it would do really well over there. Like I really do think they would love the classes, the syllabus. But yeah, that's a biggie. So we'll see.
Again, we looked into it, and as you say, you have to do it state by state. And before you'd even done anything, it was going to be 25 grand in lawyers' fees, and then another 10 grand for your ops manual. And we went, and there's an easier way.
No, I know. And there's other documents and stuff you need over there that you don't need here. So no, definitely. Okay, so how old are your kids now? They're 9 and 10.
Right, so getting a whole lot easier, definitely. Did they attend your classes?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I used to live in Epping, and I had classes running in Epping. And when I had Isla, I actually set up a class specifically so I could do it with her. I could take her and our NCT friends. So we did like a little class. It was just meant to be for us as a small kind of, you know, free class rather than a community class. But actually it grew and grew, and it ended up being another class that was kind of fully booked, and she just used to come and do it with me. She loved it. Yeah. So, and
that's really nice.
She still dances now to this day. So yeah.
And I've read on your website it's really good for children's development. Tell me a little bit about that side.
Yeah, well, it has so many benefits. I mean, firstly, the fine and gross motor skills is obviously it's brilliant for that. But also what people might not think about is vocabulary, communication skills, social skills, you know, babies and toddlers who are just kind of finding their feet in the world, so to speak. It's socializing them. They're seeing other kids. They're kind of getting involved. It brings out their confidence. It's an amazing kind of improvement in a child that comes from the first week to kind of the 4th week. Like you just see this improvement where the first week they might not even join in, they might not do anything, they're kind of shy and clingy and just won't say a word, and by week 3 or 4 they are running in the door, grabbing the props, singing along. You know, it's just wonderful to see them kind of blossom. And that is the lovely part of our job.
Yeah, no, I think that's amazing. And again, you mentioned during lockdown you put the classes online, didn't you?
Yes, yeah. Oh my, I mean, it seems like ages ago now, but it was such a crazy time, wasn't it? But suddenly it was like, right, we can't have classes. What are we going to do? And at that moment, in the beginning, we thought it was all going to be okay after Easter. Do you remember? It was like,
we did.
We'll be back after Easter. It's fine. So in my head, it was like all of these customers have paid because they pay for the term. So they've paid until like the Easter holidays. So we're going to have to offer something, or we're going to have to refund everybody. And that's just, you know, we can't. We literally overnight moved our classes onto Zoom. We had no knowledge of Zoom. I'd never used it before then. I had no idea how to kind of play my music through it or anything. So it was, I'd say the first class was a bit of a nightmare. I think probably people couldn't properly hear the music, or they couldn't hear me speaking. But then we learned how to use it. We invested in kind of wireless head mics so they could hear us over the music. And there was a class where I had 32 children on my screen, like, you know, I couldn't even see them all on one screen, dancing at home with their parents, with me in like the lounge doing tappy toes. I mean, it was insane. So yes, we made it work. We kept it going. And then when we realized that actually things weren't opening up anytime soon, we then had regular classes on Zoom where people could pay like a membership to join whatever classes they want. And it just kind of got our franchisees through that period. You know, I didn't charge any royalties or management fees throughout that time, just to kind of help them survive it. And actually we didn't lose anyone. We kept, you know, we didn't lose a single franchisee through that period. So
that's fantastic. Yeah, that's amazing. And you probably saved the sanity of quite a few parents,
a lot
I would imagine.
That. Like, they looked forward to their weekly session because it just gave them a bit of structure in their week and was something to do. So I think it was a massive help.
And
I mean,
and
it was
also,
fun. Don't wish to repeat it, but
no, none of us do. But also for the children, because, you know, developmentally, a lot of them children, you know, lost milestones, didn't they, during that period?
Yeah, they really did. We saw a big change. Oh, sorry to interrupt you.
No, go on. No, carry on.
We saw a big change after that period where we came back to classes, and actually like you say, they hadn't reached some of those milestones they should have been at. They were completely different children that were coming in because they'd never been in a class with people. They'd never been around other people. And suddenly we had all these children coming to class that were just attached to their grown-up and wouldn't like leave their side. But I will say it didn't take long for them to, you know, children bounce back, and they suddenly, like after a few weeks, they were kind of back to joining in and getting involved. But it was really noticeable, the difference before and after the lockdown. Yeah.
And do you think those, you know, coming back like that, do you think they caught up on those milestones?
I mean, from our point of view, like in the classes, we feel like things are back to normal, like the children progress as they should. But I know that there has been, like, you know, in nurseries and schools, reception age kids and all of that, there has been a knock-on effect, and it definitely has had an effect for all kids, I think. But we'll get back. We'll get back to where we were and where they should be.
I mean, kids are resilient. My youngest daughter missed out on her, you know, P7 graduation going into high school, and I think it took her a couple of years to really readjust and get back into things, and the penny dropped for her just in June this year, actually, and she finally re-engaged. And it just took a couple of years to get back on track, and I think she's fine now. She's, you know, coming up for 15 and all the rest of it.
That was a tough age to be kind of locked in, isn't it?
It was, definitely. Anyway, on to happier notes. Your success. You have an awards ceremony this afternoon, which is fantastic. And expanding Australia, the Middle East, more across the UK. I would imagine there's more space there, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. We've got 2 new franchisees launching in January at the moment. Brilliant. So we're still continuing to grow here as well.
Brilliant. I think that's amazing. And I also wanted to add, you know, again, if there's any entrepreneurs out there, listening to the news would make you think, oh, we're heading for recession with this, people have got no money. There's always money in the system, and there's always, when people want something, they'll find the money to do it, won't they?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm not going to lie, it's I would say harder now to get people to commit to a full term, for example. So we've always sold our classes in term blocks. It's definitely harder to convert people that are trying the class. We do like a 3-week trial to then convert them, because they've got to pay out quite a sum of money for the full term. So like, say £80, for example, and that's a lot of money for people to pay in one go now. Whereas before, most people wouldn't have flinched at that and would just say, we love the class, let's book. We're having to adapt and make changes to make sure that we're not losing customers because that's putting them off. And so we offer a direct debit payment, for example, where we didn't used to need to do that. So now it's, you know, if somebody's not wanting to convert to the full term, we can say, look, if you'd like to split the payments over the next few months, we can break it down for you if that helps. And normally that's really helpful. So I think as a business, you've constantly just got to be aware of what's going on, and you might have to change a little bit what you're doing. You may have to adapt things to suit your customers. And that's what we've always tried to do, I think.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair comment, definitely. And also people are used to paying monthly for things now, aren't they? That it's just in our psyche that, I can deal with monthly stuff. Yeah, definitely.
It's changed. I mean, I remember all those years ago where people would turn up with an envelope of cash for me to pay for the term, you know. It's like, wow, like we don't even take cash anymore. Like it's it's just
or a check. Let me write you a check.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd forgotten about
when was the last time you used your checkbook? Oh, right. Okay. Now, if your business had a personality or a character, who would it be, or how would you describe it, Claire?
Oh, so I like to say that Tappy Toes is pure joy. It's just happiness. It's just, you know, I look at my husband has quite a stressful job, and I look at what he's doing and I just think, oh my God, like Tappy Toes is just joyous. Like the parents love it because the kids are entertained. The children come out in and out bouncing. They love it, you know, and it's every session is just joy and happiness. Like there's no negativity to it at all. So yeah, I would just say pure joy.
Oh, wonderful. I love that. I wish you all the best. Best of luck tonight. I hope you win something. You deserve to, definitely.
Oh, even if not, it's just nice to be, you know, in a final amongst all those amazing people. So yeah,
definitely. Brilliant. Well done, Claire.
I'll go sort the puppy out.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Becca.
Coming up soon, my interview with Josh Nielsen, the founder of Zencastr, the podcast recording and hosting software that we use here at Tricrest. So to say I was a little nervous about interviewing the founder of the guy who knows everything there is to know about recording and distributing podcasts was an understatement. However, he was kind on me. He's a great guy. You'll learn about how he bootstrapped his company in the early days and how he's growing it for a platform for real creators and people who want to get their podcasts out there. Listen and enjoy.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Did you know at Tricrest, we've built a kick-ass culture, coach and consultant program? So if you're a business coach or consultant and you're looking for something new, add to your toolbox, or even escape the 9-to-5, join us at our next event. Links in the information on the podcast. See you there.
The Entrepreneurial Journey Podcast. We're talking business and building a culture that's kick-ass.